All right, well, everyone, thanks for joining us this morning. For those of you who I haven't had a chance yet to meet, my name is Christopher Germain. I'm the Chief Executive Officer here at the Lake Superior Community Partnership. This is my first year in review, so please bear with me as we work through this, but we've had a really exciting year here at the LSCP as I approach my year mark here with the organization as well. So if any of you were at our annual membership meeting a few weeks ago, this will feel very similar to you, but there are some changes to this presentation compared to the previous presentation. So we're going to jump right into it and start with our 2022 highlights and the whole year in review aspect of it. We had a lot happen at the LSCP in 2022. We had new staff, including myself joining the team, as well as a new community development person, as well as a new intern, and a few other changes amongst the staff as well. So we definitely see some new faces in the organization, but we have an incredible team out there that we continually get great compliments about. And so I'm excited to have them here on the team, and that was a big change to last year. Many of you are also aware that we moved to a new shared office space last year. So after 20 plus years in the building on the hill overlooking the lake, we are now in a shared collaborative economic development space, just a few blocks from where we were before, right on the same floor as a number of our partners, including InvestUP, Innovate Marquette, Northern Initiatives, the NMU Foundation, and some other folks who were all on our floor. That has allowed us to do some really incredible things when it comes to collaboration, by being able to now just walk around the corner, right? When someone comes into one of our offices and maybe our partners are the better people to help them, we're able to do that. We also spent a good amount of our time last year updating our board structure for the organization. So in April of 2022, the LSCP board was reduced from a dual board, which had up to 40 directors and an 11-person officer group, down to a single board with 15 directors, and the officers group integrated in within that board. We spent the rest of the year really kind of figuring out exactly how that works, how the meeting structure works and things like that, and updating our bylaws as well. And so we achieved some of that work, finalizing it here in 2023, but the bulk of the work really was done last year. And then on the economic development front, we really made significant improvements around housing, focusing on housing opportunities, formed new partnerships to address childcare needs, and made some major movement on the outdoor recreation front, all of things that we'll talk about later on in this presentation. But we did have an incredibly busy year here at the LSCP, and your investments have certainly made it possible to achieve all of that work. So this is a picture of the current LSCP team. So there's a couple of folks who were with us in 2022 who have found new opportunities yet this year. We're especially excited to welcome Ashley Sari to our team, who just started this week as our new operations and marketing coordinator. But you're going to recognize a number of these faces on this slide as well. Some of these folks have been with us for a number of years. As I mentioned, we have an incredibly strong team, and we have a team that also comes with a number of credentials, all the way from planning certifications to economic development modeling, to business solutions. And you can see the list there on the right. But one of the incredible aspects of this team, right, is that your investments support their continued professional growth and their ability to connect you and your organization to additional resources to grow our entire region. One of the new things to our presentation this past year at the annual meeting a few weeks ago was this idea of the LSCP network. Most folks, when you think of the LSCP, it's typically one single entity. And while we are a 501c6, which is a business league, and therefore able to work on business development related issues, that is certainly not the only organization that we work within at the LSCP. And so I always think this slide is very helpful for people to really understand the breadth and the scope that the team works with really on a daily basis. So the partnership is a C6, but there's an LSCP foundation that works in tandem with us. So some of our well-known community assets and programs like our Career Technical Committee, our 4th of July Committee, the Midwest Skills Center, which is our electrician line tech program, Chairman Circle and Special Projects, all fall under that foundation umbrella, which allow us to really elevate the work that the LSCP is doing on its own. We also have contracted partnerships with a Superior Free Trade Zone, which is a partnership, Superior Trade Zone, which is a partnership between Marquette County and Delta County communities. Operation Action UP, the Marquette County Ambassadors, which just got back from Lansing last week, Connect Marquette, the Northern Michigan Chamber, and of course, Michigan Works up here in the Upper Peninsula. And then on top of all of that, we also have formal contractual relationships with the Dickinson Area Economic Development Alliance, which has allowed us to provide additional resources to them, and allowed us to also grow and focus on a regional level of growth and prosperity, as well as the Baraga County Economic Development Corporation. Additionally, right here in Marquette County, we work directly with Marquette County's Economic Development Corporation, the city of Ishpeming, Marquette County itself, and the city of Negaunee as well. So you can see, while you may walk into our office and see a handful of us on the team, we are working with well over a dozen other different entities to provide support behind the scenes to create that type of prosperous place where investment can happen. Switching a little bit to the numbers for this year, that's certainly always one way when you're looking at an investment, how you're going to gauge its success. The big numbers you'll see right up here on the slide for you. So 596 general business development and consulting contacts over the year. That is right in line with our historic averages, actually a little above those. You'll see in a future slide later on that there were certainly elevated years for 2020 and 2021. 2022 saw somewhat of a semblance back to normal, which is a good thing, right? That's all what we really want to head towards. But even then, those numbers were higher than previously in 2018 and 2019. Most of those visits were around retention of existing businesses, which is certainly where we put most of our effort to help those who already decided to invest in the area to grow their investment, to keep it here, and to make sure the businesses that we've come to rely on and that we love, and many which even define our communities, are able to do exactly that and continue doing that through succession planning and financial support and whatever else they may need to make that occur. And you see, as those numbers keep going down the slide, working on business financing, business plan development, site location, data and research, marketing assistance, talent development, and a whole slew of other things that we help businesses with through those business retention and expansion visits, which really are the core part of our business development program. Marquette County is the largest county east of the Mississippi, and so it's always important to take a look at the geographic diversity of where we're spending our time. You'll see about half of our time is spent in the Marquette and Marquette adjacent areas, but we do certainly make a concentrated effort to get out to the entire county. That is something that we are continuing to really work on, especially this year. But we did a really great job last year of spreading it out and really seeing and working with other parts of the county, in particular with new partnerships and friendships over in Ishpeming and Negaunee and the west end of the county on that side as well. These are those 2022 numbers, but with a 5-year scale, just to give you a better idea of how they are comparing. So like I said, taking a look at 20 and 2021, those were really, especially 2020, astronomical years. No big surprise, right? When things started going south in 2020, that's when the LSCP was needed most, right? And as true of any economic development organization, typically the leanest times are the times that these organizations are the most important. And so working on financial stability, which is one of our goals that we'll talk about, is especially important. You can see that in the numbers. But again, overall, 2022 was a very successful year in a lot of ways. Over 10,000 jobs impacted, and again, almost 600 overall clients. Working especially on attraction and startup, which is still, again, looking at 2019 and 2018, those startup clients are still much higher than they were pre-pandemic. That's a trend that not only we are seeing, but all of our partners in the economic development sphere are seeing as well. So this could give you a simple idea of, again, 76% of those retention and expansion of existing businesses. That's where we really focus our efforts. 23% on startups last year, again, very high compared to historic averages, but an exciting challenge to have. And then the LSCP is also contracted through Marquette County Economic Development Corporation to provide support to that board, which runs a revolving loan fund that works with clients who maybe otherwise couldn't secure more traditional financing. And so in the past year, the EDC provided 6 RFL loans totaling $327,000. And then an additional 4 loans using specific COVID-19 CARES Act funds, which allowed for some greater flexibility and opportunities there. And then looking at a bigger picture going on, look at a regional wealth, right? And so what do all of those numbers that the LSCP, tosses at people every year in our annual report mean, and how do those translate to economic prosperity? And so we track some of those regional metrics. Of course, that's a team sport, right? So the LSCP doesn't directly impact population and property tax revenue, but our work does in a very indirect way, allowing that community prosperity to occur. So population did continue to see some decline in the county, only by about 50 people. Population decline is an area that all economic development organizations up here in the UP are focused on. If you work with our partners at Invest UP at all, they are really pouring a lot of resources into that, and we're continuing to be part of those conversations. But every business in the county at this point, I feel like is feeling the talent crunch, and so it's something we're watching. And when we talk about our 2023 priority focus areas, we'll talk about the things we're doing to create a high quality, or to really expand our high quality of life, allowing us to retain and attract more people to the region. And of course, the other big, no surprise there, the increase in median home sale price going up a significant amount. In some places across the UP, those increases have been in the 40 to 60% range over the last 5 years. Marquette's been a little more muted, but it is certainly the most expensive housing area in the UP at this point. One of the other big things that the LSCP does is government relations. And so we really work behind the scenes to provide supports and work with our legislators and other folks to ensure that they understand what our priorities are from an economic and community development perspective, and that we have those relationships so that when needs come up, we can then reach out to those folks and make sure that those things are elevated down in Lansing and other areas of government. So to do that, the LSCP team spends quite a bit of time working in various organizations. We belong to the Small Business Association, by which default anyone who joins the LSCP also has a Small Business Association member. We belong to Northern Michigan Chamber Alliance, which has made some incredible wins on the housing and childcare front when it comes to legislation. We're an active member of the Community and Economic Development Association of Michigan. In 2022, though, we did 72 different governmental networking visits, most of those coming through our Marquette County Ambassadors Group, which did a Lansing fall trip and a Lansing spring trip. So it's 2 annual trips, kind of getting back into the swing of things post-COVID. The Lansing group was also just in Lansing last week, doing an additional 20 visits on top of the ones that we did last year. So this is a sample of the number of things that we supported and tracked throughout the year. The creation of the Office of Rural Development was the big win in 2022. Of course, for us here at the LSCP, it also meant some change as our former CEO took the helm of that office. But that was a big win, and Sarah Lucas has been all running around the state, really building up that office and is building some new support tunnels for us. We have the Great Lakes Tunnel Project, which is something that we do support at the LSCP. There has been no major movement on that. Recent news updates have suggested, right, that the tunnel will be, or the decision, I should say, will be delayed by another year or so, but that continues to be in process. The creation of a regional transformation fund was another large legislative win for us at the LSCP, as well as economic development organizations all across the UP. Effectively, what that is the creation of a $15 million regional fund that'll be focused through Invest UP, so our partners on the regional level in economic development, that'll focus primarily on housing, allowing developers to fill financial gaps in projects that otherwise are not possible at this point. The Michigan Outdoor Venture Center for Excellence, or MOVE for short, was another big grant win for the area. Childcare initiatives at state level are ongoing, but we've seen some success there. And then you continue to go down. Really, the only two failures we saw throughout the year are Wagner-Peisner changes, which were at the federal level, and then the loss of a potential US 41 grant, which still was something that was incredible. Our communities were even able to go after that project, and we hope that that'll continue to happen in the future. And then, of course, the Marquette County was home to 2 revitalization and placemaking grants. For those of you who are unaware of that program, it was a new program funded through ARPA funds that was extremely competitive across the state. And so to see 2 in our county was really quite incredible. So if you've been in downtown Marquette, you've seen the Oradoc Brewing Company begin work on their project. And if you've been in Negaunee, you've likely seen the meetings, and you'll certainly start to see the physical improvements happening in their downtown this summer. So really incredible things happening, bringing those state resources back to our area. This is the LSCP's 2002 financial performance. We were right on budget, which was a really incredible situation to be in, again, given staffing changes, and everyone knows that a move, no matter how much you plan for it, is oftentimes more expensive than you think it's going to be. So we brought in revenue of $674,000, expenses of $657,000, which has allowed the LSCP to really move into a strong financial position. The organization needs to grow financially, but the reality is we have stabilized the organization over the last few years, which is a great position for us to be in, so we can focus. True to our focus on economic development, half of our funds went to economic development specifically in that department and those efforts. Our shared services were a little higher in 2022. That is primarily related to the move and the depreciation of our old building, which anyone who plays with financial statements will know, right, that those on the books depreciations can certainly change what those numbers look like. We expect that to go back more to its normal percentage in 2023. So those are the 2022 priorities. And while we'd love to celebrate and see all the impact of investments from that previous year, we're always looking to what's next and what's the future hold. And that's really how we build prosperous communities and economies, is to celebrate our wins and then move on to create more wins going forward. And so I want to talk a little bit about our 2023 priorities this upcoming year, many of which you'll see that we've already been working on, and some of which you have yet to see come through later this year. I should mention before I dive into this that if you have any questions, feel free to drop those into the question and answer button. You should see that either along the bottom of your Zoom or along the side or top, depending on what your structure looks like. If you drop those in, though, we'll be sure to get to those at the end of the presentation. So in terms of 2023, we have 10 focus areas. 5 are externally focusing, and then 5 are internally focusing. You see the externals in blue there on the screen and those internals in green. I'm going to dive into each of those externals a little bit further. So business development continues to be one of the things that we have done for a quarter of a century at the LSCP, and certainly something we intend to continue focusing on. And it's really our bread and butter at the organization. Even though we have a number of partners now in the field who also do some business development work, they have been great to work with and really only amplified our efforts. So we're excited about that, but we will continue to prioritize those business retention visits, or set our goal at or above what we hit in 2022. We also would like to expand our use of our specialized economic development tools to support our partners. And so one really great example of that is when the ORDOC applied for the Revitalization and Placemaking Grant Program, they actually accessed an economic development modeling study from us that allowed them to show the impact of that type of investment, which really bolstered their application. So we have those types of tools internally. We're not always the best at sharing, right? That those are available to our investors and partners. So please, be thinking of us when you're looking at your next investment to see if there's a way we can help you out with that. We also plan to focus 2 specific areas within our business development resources. Number one, our talent resources, which of course is everyone's largest challenge at this stage, and succession planning, which continues to be on the forefront of a number of folks' minds as people who have owned businesses for decades in our community are ready to finally relax and retire and enjoy the fruits of their labor. So we're working actively on succession planning. We are the only economic development organization in the UP at this stage that has a formal succession planning program in place. We continue to create those valuable networking opportunities that the LSCP is so well known for. I see the participant list here, and a number of you I know from our business after hours and our other events. And so that is continuing to be a focus for us because we know those connections really matter when growing your business or your organization. And then we hope to put an additional focus on small businesses through resources and partnerships. And we'll actually have some big news on that front coming out likely next week, a new opportunity for small businesses to work with us. We also plan to continue our new focus into community development. The LSCP understands, right, that strong communities create strong environments for investments. We're playing a very different economic development game than was in place even a decade ago. So working to expand our shared services approach with interested local governments. That, of course, was one of our biggest changes in 2022, was a signing of a new contract with the city of Ishpeming to work on community development work, in particular, its focus areas on redevelopment-ready communities and blight management and some planning work. We have re-signed that contract with the city for this year with a new set of focus areas and priority things to work on. And so we're excited to continue that and very open to expanding that model to other local governments who may be interested in working with us. We also continue to support improvements around including the expansion of air service at Marquette Sawyer Regional Airports, participating in local government planning efforts where we're able to, just to make sure that economic development is being considered when you're talking about land use and infrastructure and other areas of local government planning. We're also actively convening the Transportation Task Force to primarily tackle air expansion service, but also to work on other infrastructure needs across the county and working collaboratively to identify those infrastructure needs. Again, those are all things that lead to that type of positive investment atmosphere that we all like to see. Housing is, of course, a focus area for the LSCP as well as any other economic development organization in the states. We acknowledge, right, that a lack of housing has become a barrier to continued economic growth. So our primary focus area will be to continue to seek the grow new housing options, by supporting the Intergovernmental Housing Task Force, which is a group which has been actively meeting roughly every single month and was recently awarded funds from the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development to conduct a target market analysis, which will allow us to quantify the concerns and look at rental rates and purchase rates and other things like that we can then use to better target where our opportunities are to pursue new housing. We're also looking to establish a general housing development strategy for our coverage area, working directly with developers to facilitate housing projects, and then continuing to work with Marquette County Land Bank to pursue housing grants and resources. This is one we are very heavily focused on. The LSCP team, myself included, have been impacted by the housing situation here in the county. We know there's more that we can do, and we are actively working on that particular issue. Childcare is also one that you've already seen the LSCP become actively involved in. Particularly, we are the home for Childcare Spark, which is a home business incubator in partnership with the Community Foundation of Marquette County, the Great Start to Quality, and the Marquette Alger RISA. We are building a 12-week course that folks who want to start an in-home childcare business can go through and help them through permitting, help them through improvements to their home, understand how to write a business plan and understand financials and marketing and all the various pieces that go into place. The great thing about focusing on in-home businesses is that we can spread them all throughout the county, and there aren't the higher up capital investment costs of buying, say, a commercial building. That's not the only solution, and we know a number of our other partners are working on larger scale childcare facilities, and they're working to tackle training and wage issues. But we do feel like this is where the LCP can make the most impact, is helping people start businesses, right, in an asset that they typically already own or rent from, which is their home. We're also participating in the Region 1 Childcare Planning Grant, which is a larger initiative happening all across the UP. We're not taking the lead, but we are actively participating in those conversations. And then other opportunities as they come up. Probably every few weeks, we get a call from someone with questions about childcare, looking to start a business or better understand our environment. So we know there's interest out there, but we also understand there's a significant number of barriers typically set at the state level to starting childcare businesses. So going back to that partnership with the Northern Michigan Chamber Alliance, which has worked to advocate for changes at the state level around regulations and legislation that would allow it to make it easier for folks to still create safe, high quality childcare centers, maybe by removing some outdated regulatory barriers there. And then the fifth focus area for externals is our outdoor recreation. We understand this is an asset. Many of you have seen us already involved in 2022 in the Sustainable Trails Planning Initiative. We will continue to do that. We're really excited about what 2023 holds. You'll see significantly more efforts by the consultant, which has recently been hired to push the program really to its new heights. We'll actually see planning documents and ideas and tasks come out. And we'll continue to, of course, bring folks together around that. We are also partnering with Innovate Marquette on a portion of a RISE grant, which stands for Rural Innovation. That is to establish that MOVE Center that we talked about earlier. And the LSCP is really focused on providing communication and information about that initiative and making sure that folks and entrepreneurs who go through that program are getting the coverage that they need to grow their business. And then, of course, there's no shortage of other outdoor recreation discussions and opportunities happening. So the LSCP has prioritized that as one area where we will actively make efforts to be at those meetings. To do all of that, you'll look at our approved budget here. Not a huge change from 2022, but the LSCP is feeling the same pressures that a number of other organizations are feeling around talent and just increasing costs just in general. So the board did approve a budget, which is an increase of about, I'd say 3 to 4% over the previous year, which our expenses are really in line with that increase as well. You will notice the economic development piece of the pie does go back to its bigger than 50% with that shared services getting smaller. But our marketing and membership team is also an incredibly important team at the LSCP who provides a number of you who were on this webinar with the benefits, right, to investing in the organization. And so while the primary benefit of investing in the LSCP is certainly the externalities and the benefits of growing a larger, more prosperous economy for us all here in Marquette County, We know a number of folks are looking for some type of tangible return on their investment as well. And so those marketing benefits and discounted tickets to events and things like that, that's the marketing and membership team, making sure that you're getting the most out of your investment going forward. A few other kind of 2023 priorities we'd like to make folks aware of. Marquette County is the home to the 2023 Michigan Economic Developers Association annual meeting. So this is the second time it's been in the UP, and both times it's been in Marquette County. That'll be taking place in August. We'll have roughly 175 to 200 economic developers and site selectors in the area, talking about things from housing, outdoor recreation and talents, to legislation and other areas that we've already covered earlier in our presentation. So we're really excited about that. If anyone who's on the webinar today would like to be a part of that initiative, in particular through a sponsorship, you're welcome to reach out to us, and we can talk you through what that looks like. 4 other priorities that are on our plate, because everything we just talked about wasn't quite enough for us. LSCP strategic plan update is really top of mind for us now with our board elections out of the way. We were working that over this summer, so expect some outreach from us just in terms of engagement about how you feel things are going at the LSCP. What are our priority focus areas? Are we on the right track, right? Or should we be looking at something else? So we'll be reaching out to our members to work on that. We'll also be focusing on building new legislative relationships. There was a historic election last November. Everyone knows that. Michigan bucked to the trend in a lot of ways. And we saw the shift of power in Lansing for the first time in nearly 40 years. Go all the way from one to the other side. And so working to build those new relationships, we were very fortunate to have a number of legislative leaders here for the UP 200, and they've been in the UP for some other events yet this year as well. So continuing to make sure that the UP isn't an afterthought in those conversations, but we're actually forefront of those conversations about investments, especially in rural development. The LSCP is also conducting partner engagement events this year. Again, I recognize a number of the names on this webinar from folks who've been at those events so far yet this year. Our next one will be in August out in the west end of the county, so more details to come on that, but we're really excited about those events. Unlike our business after hours, they really allow us to focus specifically on the LSCP and the work that we're conducting on your behalf and using your investment to achieve. And then finally, just continued collaboration with our economic development ecosystem partners. We are very fortunate in Marquette County to have a number of economic development organizations. But of course, when you have a lot of cooks in the kitchen, it just requires some coordination, right? To make sure that you're all really focusing on your specialties and that you know who to send folks to get the best experience, no matter which door they come in. And so we're working on that going forward. I do want to just give a shout out to our 2023 board of directors, which were elected at our annual membership meeting a few weeks ago. So new directors from our previous board would be Ria Deaver from Northern Michigan University, as well as Mike Smith from the UP Construction Council. All of the other folks that you see here on this slide have been longtime board members that we're thrilled to have continuing back with us as well. The LSCP officers leadership as well did not change for this year. So our chair continues to be Range Bank, represented by Roxanne Doust. Flourish Financial Partners is our vice chair from Scott Nafla. Dave Arrow from Superior Rehabilitation and Professional Services continues to be our secretary. And then Jesse Bell from Bell Financial continues to be our treasurer for this year. Feel very fortunate to have a board full of folks who attend the meetings and ask great questions and really are out there advocating on behalf of all of us going forward. So a few last minute reminders. Our 23rd annual golf outing is Thursday, June 15th. So if you haven't signed up for that, please consider putting together a team or sponsoring the events. It's always a really good time. And we would love to see you all there. And then, of course, we couldn't do what we do without all of our investors. We always like to give a special shout out to our superior level partners, Blue Cross Blue Shield Network of Michigan, Eagle Mine, Northern Michigan University, Innovate Marquette County, UP Health System, Enbridge, and Cleveland Cliffs, all of whom have been incredible partners over the years with us. And we're so thrilled to have their investment and also their trust in their partnership going forward. But that thank you again extends all the way down to all 300 of our investing partners who work in the organization. And then, of course, there's our chairman's circle who work with our LSCP Foundation to provide additional investment to the organization, which allows us to elevate and take advantage of opportunities that maybe weren't budgeted for, we hadn't seen earlier on in the year. So those folks you see here on your screen have made those commitments to really elevating their work, and we really do appreciate they continue to do that year after year. So if you see them, please also give them a big thank you as well. And finally, folks always ask, what can you do to help the LSP going forward? We just tossed a lot of information at you. And there's really 5 things. One, we of course encourage anyone who's a current investing partner in the organization to continue that investment, or ideally even upgrade your investment. We have worked really hard, really diligently, I should say, to keep investment levels at reasonable levels and low enough that really anyone can invest in the organization. But we do have a number of higher investment levels, which we encourage folks to look at. Those come with additional benefits, but also just provide additional resources for us to continue to do the incredible work that we're doing. You can make a switch to a different investment level at any time throughout the year, so you can reach out to us. We also encourage you to just refer those within your network to our services. Most of the folks who come through our door, we aren't necessarily proactively talking to. They are coming to us at this stage, which I think is a vote of confidence, right, with folks' feet that they're coming to us. We, of course, do plenty of proactive outreach as well. But if you have someone and they're talking about a business idea, or their current business, they're struggling with something, encourage them to talk to us, pass on our contact information. All of our conversations are confidential. Oftentimes they result in additional resources and support. Think of the LSCP for economic development projects. You may have noticed from the previous slides that we're starting to do some more hands-on economic development related work, whether it be around trails or childcare, housing. So we can help organizations with special projects and special needs that they may have in place, and particularly those economic development modeling software, but also some small scale economic development planning and other types of initiatives that organizations may need just to go to that next level. A fourth is open your LSCP emails. That open rate is a very powerful marketing tool. We also just want you to read, right? We spend lots of information out in those emails and our social media, and we do work very hard to make sure that it's all useful information that folks can benefit from. So be sure to open those and take a look at those just so you can see what's going on throughout that network. And then, of course, just share LSCP updates throughout your network. Whether it be social media or emails that we send out, or just one-on-one conversations with folks. Just say, hey, have you thought about the LSCP? Or hey, did you hear that the LSCP did that? Those kind of one-on-one conversations, again, are a vote of confidence. We really rely on our investing partners to help spread the word as well. So with that, that is the end of our conversation. Thank you. That's the wrong date, so I'm going to go back here just so you can see the supporting LSCP. But I'm happy to answer any questions. I haven't seen any come through, so I'll give folks just a minute. If you would like to, again, drop a question into the Q&A, we're happy to answer those. Otherwise, you know how to reach us.